Hey guys, this is Jennifer, and this is the Jennifer Allwood Show, the podcast where you learn how to create a beautiful home and build a creative business. Grab a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot in the house, and let's chat. I'm excited you're here. Well, hey, my friend, this podcast is sponsored by my very own Creators Roadmap course. So Creators Roadmap is my 6-week-long flagship course that teaches creative people all the different ways that they can make money online. Almost 900 business owners have already taken this course, and I've taught them how to do affiliate marketing, get paid to put ads on their website, do blog posts, go live on Facebook. I've taught them how to start a membership site, launch a course, or add one-on-one coaching to their list of services. If any of that is interesting to you, in February, I'm opening, just for a very short time, a real quick pop-up group on Facebook. And this group is going to help creative people determine which of all those different ways of making money online best suits your personality and your strengths. So if you'd like to be notified when that free little pop-up group opens, go to creatorsroadmap.com. Drop your email address, tell your girlfriends, and I'll see you in there. Well, hey, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm super excited to chat with you this week because I have my favorite person on the face of the planet. And a guy that turns out to be a lot of your favorites, too. That's not awkward at all, is it, honey?
I don't know.
But hi, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning.
I've got
or
my
afternoon or evening, wherever you are.
Yeah, I've got my husband Jason here on the podcast with me today, and we're just going to have what you call a hot conversation.
Yeah.
About 2018. So you want to tell them what hot means?
Hot conversation is we were told by our pastor years ago we need to have hot conversations, and hot is honest, open, and transparent.
I'm hopeful that this podcast is better than the last one that we did, because the last one we did, we were like total podcast virgins when it came to doing it together. And so we had to restart it, remember, like 3 times. And, I got on my pissy pants.
Yeah. She got in business mode.
Did I get in business mode?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's really funny though, too.
And then what happened? I don't even remember.
Because you yelled at me and said, you're going way back. And we were talking about something.
Oh, yeah. And I'm like, that's too far back.
I didn't want you to go back to when we
because I had in my mind like how it would work, which is exactly what 2018 is pretty much like. Like I had an idea in my mind how it would work. And 2018 was wild for us. 2018 for us was the year, honestly, friends, that everything changed. And we're going to just kind of give you a behind the scenes look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, because on the outside, I'm sure it appears splendid, marvelous. I was thinking about how in 2018, I got everything that I've prayed for.
Yeah.
And in 2019, I hope
except
my prayer is...
you didn't get a new husband yet.
No, I didn't.
Still praying for that one.
Not praying for that one.
Stop praying for it.
But I hope that in 2019, we just figure out how to balance it all. And so we'll start at the beginning of 2018. So everything kind of changed for us in February when we bought this house.
Well, no, go back. If you go back just 3 months before that, 4 months before that.
Is this where you go back way far again?
Yes.
Okay.
It was October.
Okay.
Right? October, we had a critically large launch that propelled us into anniversary.
Yeah.
And we went out of town for our anniversary.
Yeah, we were in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah. And, it was glorious and fantastic. We came back to...
Yeah, because I was thinking, what just happened to business?
Yeah.
It was my Creators Roadmap launch in October.
It was. So if we go to October, and then we fast forward to, actually it was December, January, we got an offer on the house.
Yep.
And then we had to move.
Yeah.
Because we had nowhere to go, because we accepted the offer, and the house we were trying to buy got an offer on the same day. So we were homeless. We had our house under contract,
Yes.
but we were homeless.
We were homeless. I don't know that I've even shared a lot of this story. Thank you for bringing this piece of it up with our listeners, because we had actually, now I'm going to go way back, but we had tried to sell our house 4 years before that. And, as someone whose house is all over Pinterest, and we've been in countless magazines and had television stations out to our home, our house didn't sell.
No.
We had it on the market 4 years ago for 3 or 4 months. And I was like, are you kidding me, Lord? How humbling is this that I, prided myself in a very beautiful home and we couldn't sell it.
It was very personal.
Yes. It was decorated very personal to
where
our taste.
what you wanted and how you liked it. And
So fast forward 4 years, we felt like, I had the itch to move again. We'd been in our old house for 14 years.
Can I ask you a serious question?
Yes, please do.
Have you ever not had the itch to move?
Honey, we were in that house 14 years, so I was itching, but it was like the hives. It was like having the hives for 14 years because it didn't go away, but we didn't actually move. And so he's making fun of me because now I'm guilty. I actually purchased my first home when I was 21 years old, when most people are still out doing nickel shots at the Denim and Diamonds. I was doing that and making a mortgage.
They weren't a nickel, they were $1.
They were at quarter shots on Wednesday night. And Rachel and I, this is way too hot of a conversation. My BFF Rachel and I would watch 90210 on Wednesday nights. And then we would go to Denim and Diamonds for quarter margaritas is actually what we would do. Yes. Yeah. Even though I hated country music, I love me some margaritas. So okay, fast forward. So we found a house in January of last year. So exactly a year ago.
Right.
And we both felt like that would have been a perfect house for our family. We loved it. It was a little higher price than what we wanted to do, but we put an offer on it. And the house had been on the market several months. Mm-hmm. We had actually looked at it like 6 months prior to that and felt like it was just out of our price range. But then business had kept taking off. And so we put an offer on it. And the same day, somebody else made an offer.
Same day, another, an actually real estate agent bought the house or put a contract on the house.
Yeah.
We know him.
We got into a bidding war.
Got into a little bit of bidding war.
So the bottom line was,
we didn't win the house.
We didn't get the house and our house was sold. So we had, 30 days essentially to get out of our house and nowhere to go. And that put us in a little bit of a tailspin. The area that we live in Kansas City, there wasn't a whole lot of places where we could upgrade the size of our home and keep our kids in the same school district.
Right.
And we had promised our children we would not move school districts. You moved school districts when you were young. When you were in high school.
Yeah.
My parents never moved me and I was very, very grateful for that. And I saw a lot of times what being the new kid was like. And I just didn't want to do that to our kids. Our kids are really engaged and love their schools. And so we just made a decision we were going to move school districts. So in the neighborhoods that we could go to, we looked at every single house then that was on the market and didn't love any of them.
We did.
And so then we looked at townhouses and we started filling out a contract to live in a townhome for the next 6 months while we tried to figure out, are we going to build? Is something else going to come available? It was
also understand in January that the housing market, is slow. And there's not a lot of houses for sale. And the houses that are for sale are the ones that haven't sold.
Yeah.
So we got, we had our agent knew their agent who knew they were going to potentially sell
You're
someday.
Talking about this house now?
Yeah, about this house.
Yeah. So what happened is we asked our agent, can you ask and see if there's anybody that knows of anything that might be, coming up for sale? And she asked around and heard that this house that we now currently own was maybe coming on the market in the spring. And I said, well, could we go look at it? And so we came to look at it. And as we pulled into the driveway, I'm like, wait a minute.
I know this house.
10 years ago, my decorative painting company that I owned for 16 years, the Magic Brush, we did all the faux finishing in this house. We got this house ready to go before the parade of homes. This house was on the parade years and years ago. And I remember thinking then that, gosh, this is a gorgeous house. Like this is like, a dream home type of home. And so then you and I came to look at it and fell in love, put an offer on it.
And bought it. Yeah.
And bought it.
Yeah.
And then
we had to work out the details.
So that was absolutely, positively amazing. So got moved into the new house in February, which was amazing. And then we decided to remodel it right off the bat.
We had a moving truck show up here we closed on a Thursday, I think is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a dumpster dropped off on Friday.
Yeah, they all saw the picture of you on Facebook in the dumpster in the middle of the night in your boxers trying to dig out the fire alarm that somehow went into the dumpster and went off in the middle of the night. They all know you, honey. They have all seen your underwear.
I don't even wear it anymore.
Hashtag true. And so yeah, we started then what ended up being about a 4-month remodel, which was a hot, stinking mess. Living in a house while you're remodeling it from top to bottom is it's no small endeavor. And so I'd love to know from you, honey. So we changed houses and I'd love to know, my question is what you learned from that experience, what we could have done better, or kind of your thoughts on
what we learned from the move?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. What we learned from the move was a ton. I learned that my wife is a hoarder and has a lot of stuff, and that we had a storage unit full. We had a trailers full. We had everything full.
That's a lie, by the way. I know you pause, dramatic pause as you wait for your wife to argue with you. I'm not a hoarder, but I do like things.
We had a lot of stuff. Then we moved a lot of stuff into the basement here, which the basement was great. It was unfinished and it was a storage for a lot of stuff. The move itself wasn't that bad. When you get to a certain age or time in life when you realize that I don't want to move boxes anymore, you're not calling all your friends, stuff like that. So we hired a moving company to come in and move all the big stuff. We moved the fragile stuff. So that part of it wasn't that bad. I think what I learned was that you probably shouldn't try to remodel a house and live here at the same time and still try to work two full-time jobs. That's probably what I learned. That wasn't good.
Yeah, that was hard, which sets us up for the thing we're going to talk about next. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing that I learned was, I'm going to give a more spiritual answer right now. In thinking about like my biggest lesson from us getting this house was, for me, I'm just joking, by the way, about being more spiritual. We prayed for this house for 4 years. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out why our old house would not sell. It would not sell, in the time frame we wanted. And when I look now at the house that we landed in, and it's really more than a house. I mean, we have community here. We have gatherings and we have friends over after church. And we had, our kids had 90 some kids here a while back
felt like about 400.
Not Youth America, Young Life. And so, we're doing community in this house and we prayed for this for years. But what's interesting is this house, honey, is so much a better suit for us than what we thought the house we wanted was originally. And this house was so far out of the price range that we thought that we could have afforded 4 years ago or even a year, even 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest lesson I learned is that God's timing is always perfect. And what he's got around the corner is always just so much better than I think what we even have for ourselves.
I would agree with those.
So then that sets us up for the next thing that happened. So we moved in February, and then work changed for both of us in the month of April. And do you want to talk about your stuff first?
Well, first, go back to February when we started demo on everything. The boys' bedrooms and the Ava's bedroom at that time was done upstairs, and we were living on the living room floor in here because our bedroom hadn't been painted or carpeted or whatever else. So for the first few weeks, we spent on the carpet down here.
It's very romantic.
It was extremely. We had nightlight by the street light outside because we had no blinds on the windows. But that was probably the most trying time. It was that February, March, and part of April, I think, was probably the most trying time in the whole situation, just because you were home every day. Mm-hmm. I was gone every day. Mm-hmm. You were you weren't trying. You were still running a business out of here.
Yep.
Kids were getting acclimated to a new
home, new
neighborhood, new everything. And I like I said, I was gone.
I started to lose my crap is what he's trying to say nicely. Mama started to lose her crap.
But at any given day, you would have from 1 to 12 people in here,
contractors,
doing something, whether that was a little or a lot or whatever it was. And we had sheets up in her office because she was trying to work in here. Well, a sheet not really a sound barrier for whatever it is you're doing.
I was trying to record this podcast while they were hammering away on, the room right outside of it. It was trying.
So all of those things I did, that was the most trying time. And I could see it every day when I got home. She would just look at me with those deer in the headlight looks like, okay, I'm done with, I've used all the brain I can use today. Yeah. I've used all of my patience I can use today, or I've used whatever else up. And I think that was when we had a hot conversation.
It was hot.
A really hot conversation about what needs to happen next.
Yeah. And work just, we had a great launch in January, had another great launch in April then with my Creators Roadmap. And it just became obvious to me that you leaving the house every day to go to corporate America it was causing a lot of strain on all of us. Mm-hmm. And so then we had to start having conversations. Well,
and when you say corporate America, I didn't go to a traditional corporate America job. I had a sales job.
Yeah.
So I didn't travel. I wasn't a traveling salesman, but I left the house every day and I I worked for a large food company. So I was going to restaurants in the Kansas City market. So I was gone anywhere from
You were gone
8:30 till sometimes earlier than that, sometimes later than that. But yeah, it was gone a lot.
Well, you were gone, I think what's normal for a lot of working husbands.
Yeah.
And I was starting to get pretty bitter about that. And don't give me that look. And so
you can't see this right now, but the look I just gave her.
So I was getting bitter, and it felt as though you were more needed at home. I needed you more to be here than what we needed you to be bringing in the income outside of the home. And so, in April, you left corporate America.
I did.
And
I came to work for my wife, which my wife says on there that we've had this conversation after the fact that I retired.
Yeah. Yeah. I screwed that up.
Yeah. So now when I see everybody out in public, they're like, "Oh, how's retired life? How's retired life?" Well, just so you know, when you work for corporate America, and if you ever had a corporate America job, you know what you're doing every day. You go to work at 8 o'clock, you get off at 5 o'clock, you know what those 8, 10, 5 hours, whatever it is you're working that day entail. When you work for your wife, you have no idea what may be thrown at you that day, whether it's a computer issue, payroll issue,
the IT guy, the finance guy,
IT guy,
the
CFO, finance guy, the guy that has to, hey, just so you know that they had a dentist appointment. Well, it makes more sense for me to run the dentist appointment than it does for her. So, I mean, it was all those things. So when I retired, I work more now than I did when I was at corporate America.
Yeah, but do you like me more?
The great thing about the job is that it is a pants optional job.
So here's the deal, though.
Here's the deal.
I owe you a public apology because honestly, I do because are you
going to say those words?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Baby.
Oh my goodness. Look out.
I'm sorry. And, literally, like, I didn't know anybody else who's, other than one of my previous business coaches, whose husband quit a corporate job to support them at home, support the family, work in the wife's business. And so I kind of picked up their vernacular, their vocabulary. And what I had heard her say is retired her husband from corporate America. So I adopted that. I was just like, how do I say he no longer needs to go to the corporate job? He's going to come home and work with me without making you feel lesser than that you're going to be working for your wife without it's like, I just didn't know how to position that with words.
Just say we've taken some interviews on and you got hired for the job.
I didn't interview nobody, baby. Yeah. You were it. You were it.
I interviewed well. And
you do have some strong interview skills.
Yeah, I got interview skills and I got a decent resume and I got hired.
And you were hired. And so
instead you said
instead I said we retired my husband from corporate America.
It's all good.
What I should have said was we transitioned my husband out of corporate America into working with me in my business. And I literally, I think the day you came home, my entire countenance just changed, and I just breathed this entire huge sigh of relief. And I took
a deep breath of stress.
Well, because it's funny, the third day you were home. Can I tell them the story from corporate America?
Sure, go ahead.
The third day you were home from corporate America, flowers, ding dong, ring at the front doorbell. And of course you could barely hear the doorbell over the sound of hammers and hammerjacking. Oh, good. I got it right. Because, they're taking out cement countertops and 10,000 pounds, literally 10,000 pounds of tile in our house. And it's
they did all that for you, huh?
Who?
They did all that for you.
No, you took out the cement countertops. They took out the tile floors. So I get a huge arrangement of flowers at the front door, and I still have the card. I think it's here in my desk somewhere that said,
how can you find it on this
I owe you an apology. I had no idea what you were going through every day. You are Superwoman. I love you. And I wept when I read that because I was trying to juggle this business that literally between, in those first 4 months of the year, my business quadrupled in revenue, which mean we had to add to my team, which mean when my inner circle went from, where it was in members and did 2.5 times. I mean, that's just, it's not that it was 2.5 times more work, but it was a lot more responsibility. And with responsibility, a lot of times comes a lot more emotion and stress. And so it felt so good to be seen and for you just to recognize the plates that I was juggling. And so thank you for that.
I do have eyes.
I know you do have eyes. So biggest thing that I learned about you coming home from corporate America was, and the thing that I would like to say that I could have done better is I could have positioned it better so that now when you see people, they aren't just giving you crap about being fully retired, because you're not. You still are, like I said, you take care of all the finances, you take care of all the payroll, you take care of all the taxes, you take care of all the IT stuff, you take care of all the stuff that's a necessary part of this business that I hate. And I'm so grateful.
I'm not cut out for it 100%, but I'm getting better.
You are getting better. And I think it's really important for people to recognize that this is not like your dream job. And this is not probably how it will look forever, but this is how it looks today. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's other things you and I are talking about with
I just
buying and flipping houses. And
I also think that having an open marriage, not an open marriage.
We're not swingers.
I guess an honest marriage
Yes.
is that you had a need. And to be honest, corporate America was it was great. It was good. I loved my job and stuff, but I could see that. I guess that's what I guess what I learned from it is as your spouse, as you know, a fan, but B, your spouse. We had to have a heart to heart conversation about, does it make sense for me every day to leave and go do what it is I'm doing? And it came down to the point where we had to kind of break it down. From a financial standpoint to from financial to time to everything that comes into play. I like numbers, and my wife does too. So it's very easy for us to have these conversations about, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense about, finance, time, and stuff like that. So to wrap that up, that conversation happened. I think what we learned then was it just from a speaking, not from a business side of it or anything else, just from a marriage side of it. If your spouse would have that conversation with you, I think it would help people's marriage out also, not just our marriage, but it would help everybody's marriage out. If these small business owners that listen to the podcast and these entrepreneurs and stuff, if their spouse would just,
like when I came to you and said, "Baby, I'm drowning over here."
Yeah. I mean, we had that conversation, but even then, we had a conversation just a month ago where,
because we're still trying to figure it out.
Well, yeah, we were trying to figure it out, but we took on Ari. Then we haven't got to that part of our life yet, but we just had a conversation a month ago about how kind of resentful you were about corporate America because of the time it took away from business, from the kids and everything else. And so I just really think, hear my heart when I say that if you have a conversation with your spouse, sometimes they're not. We were going to go to lunch and have a margarita and talk about life in a taco.
This was 2 weeks ago.
This was 2 weeks ago. And what I got laid out there was was something way, way different than that.
Well, we just learned so much with you being home, because I think that you're such a people person and you're such an extrovert. So to be home with me every day is not like your dream. For me to be home every day by myself is my dream.
I could be out and the party's outside. Yeah. Let's go out and see people and talk to them. And
so you're missing, community. And I think you're missing, a lot of your old customers and clients and things like that. So we went to lunch and we're just talking about that. And,
I still text them stuff.
And over the course of chicken tacos and margaritas with a side of margarita dip and a margarita with salt in the rim.
Halfway through that drink.
Yeah. I just kind of lost time because we were talking about just loneliness and instantly I went backwards to, the decade that I was at home with the kids. I still had this business, but I stayed home for 10 years while we had 3 kids in 6 years until I got them all into kindergarten. And it was a decision that we made together. We didn't want somebody else raising our children. We didn't want them to be in daycare. We made that decision to make some sacrifices so that, I was home with them every day. And even though it was exactly where God wanted me to be, and even though it was what we felt very strongly convicted of, and even though it was the right thing to do, it doesn't mean that I wasn't desperately lonely at times. And, it was before social media. And I can remember just...
Is there a time before social media?
There was. It's so weird to think of like PF before Facebook. No, that's BF. PF is PF Chang's. So now we're talking about tacos again.
Well,
But no, so it was, I can remember like the UPS guy ringing the doorbell or UPS girl or whoever it was.
And she invited me for coffee.
No, but I would be like, it's a human being. Even as an introvert, I still just wanted to have 2 seconds of conversation with somebody that wasn't 3 who, had projectile vomited that day. And so I just remember that decade as being exceptionally lonely. And I know you're kind of seeing some of those feelings now. And I think the big lesson that I've taken away is that I would not want to walk through this sort of thing with anybody on the face of the planet other than you, babe, because we are committed to figuring out how this can work really well for both of us and feed what I need and also feed what you need. And I don't think we've got it exactly where it needs to be today, but we're committed to the process.
Well, yeah, we tweak it every hour. But if you go back though, in that conversation that we had though, in that decade that you spent, not alone, but it was just a lonely time. Kind of what she's not telling you that I'll tell you is she kind of had this argument with God and said, but I've done my time and I don't want to go back 10 years ago, because we just took on the next thing I think we're talking about is when we took on Ari.
So yeah.
So that was another.
Well, we could have done a podcast for each one of these things totally separately. Yeah. When I look at the time that we're going here, I'm like, oh man, we're talking along. But we got the phone call in August. You came home in April. June, July, August, we were having coffee and Bible time every morning on the deck. And
and quiet time on the deck and Friday afternoon.
You were going for lunches. Bike rides every morning. I was getting back into working out on a regular basis. I would go for runs. It kind of felt like we were living the dream.
Yeah, there's nothing more sexier than 200 pounds of this stuffed into spandex.
I think they saw that picture on Facebook too, baby.
Please, I hope they don't.
So we had just gotten into this groove of, man, we've got the house. We've got him home. We came off of some travel this summer. We took the kids on a big vacation. We took the longest vacation. We were gone for like 10 days, which is longer we've ever been gone. We kind of felt like we made it. We just made it.
Looks like we made it.
Yes, exactly. And so we felt like we'd made it, and we get the phone call in August from a family member asking us about taking in a 4-little girl named Ari. So Ari is my cousin's granddaughter, which we are pretty sure makes her my 3rd cousin and our kid's 4th cousin.
4th cousin, second removed. And
I don't know. I don't know all the things. And she had been living with her great-grandmother. And so they asked us about taking her in, and we were like, well, and we decided we would start with a play date. And because we didn't know this child, we'd met her once in our life. And then we set up a second play date and then a third play date. And then we decided, how about we just put her in preschool? And
we just thought about helping a family member out.
Yes.
And we would help pay for preschool and get her to and from.
Yes. And we thought it would be super fun if she spent the night with us the night before her first day at preschool, have a little sleepover, and we would take her out and get her new first outfit for preschool.
Take her out and shop and get her at the whatever and get her an outfit for school the first day, and everybody'd be excited.
And so she went to preschool the first day.
Well, she stayed the night and she didn't want to go to sleep.
Yeah. She didn't. It was,
So that was a rough night.
It was a rough night.
Went to preschool, and we picked her up from preschool, and
we never took her home.
Teachers loved her. We love her. And she stayed with us ever since.
Yeah. So Ari has been with us now for almost 4 months. We are her legal guardians. So we have her, which could be, it's hard to say for what length of time.
Yeah, we know.
And so we've signed up for a big question mark. And we're absolutely obsessed with her, but that is not to say that this has not been the hardest thing I think we've ever done.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. And I think what makes it even harder is that we feel super protective of her and super protective of her parents. And so trying to tell a little bit of the story or what, a day-to-day looks like is tricky because we want to make sure we're covering all of them.
Yeah.
And so, I'm only willing to share the good parts of her story on social media because I feel like that's just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And
just like everything on Facebook or Instagram or anything else, that you only put the best stuff out there. You don't put
absolutely
the life struggles and, the hard times and stuff like that. Because everything's rosy.
Yeah.
Everything's rosy.
So taking in Ari has been literally the most beautiful thing we've ever done. And yet absolutely the very hardest thing we've ever done. It has really shown us where you and I have some struggles.
You mean
let me say that
shortcomings, or do you mean what does this look like exactly?
Bringing in a child who comes from hard places has magnified the issues we have in our marriage. Is that a good way to say it?
So if you think when you're in middle school or high school, because we have middle schoolers and high schoolers, right? Mm-hmm. And you have a blemish or a pimple, if you will, on your forehead, and you think that it is magnified like everybody in the world's looking at it, that's how it feels when you have taken on a 4-year-old in the after 20 years of marriage, that you're like, oh wow, we have all these problems, just like that pimple on your forehead. You think everybody sees it, but it is magnified.
Everything's been magnified. I think we underestimated also how huge of a transition this would be for our biological children.
100%. And not the oldest too.
Yeah. The boys, they're teens, they're out, they're doing their thing. But Ava has been the only girl, and she is the youngest. And she has wanted a baby sister for as long as I can remember. And now she's got one. And it has been incredibly difficult for her. Mm-hmm. And, we are all committed to this process. The funny thing is we've had many family meetings and where we have said we are either all in,
or if one's out,
we're all out. Yep. And because this is going to take sacrifice and commitment from every single one of us in this house. And I'm so proud of our children. Can I just say that? Yeah. Because time and time again, they have stepped up and stepped in and navigated the really difficult nights with us. We are, half of our house right now is in therapy. Yeah, more than half. 2/3 of the party of 6 are in therapy.
I will say this is that you can go back and you can I think one of the questions that you had emailed me, that's how we communicate, just so you know.
Yeah, our offices are 2 feet away from each other.
Via email instead of, hey honey. No, just send an email out to us. And one of the questions was what you thought or learned or could have done better when taking on the role of parental guardian for Ari. And I would say that, again, I'll go back to what was before, I would say that for anybody who's been married for any length of time, counseling is always wonderful, mm-hmm. whether it's a little bit or a lot. And I will say, I will never admit this to my wife, but we're doing counseling with Ari, and I think it has helped out dramatically. I think. Are
you seriously saying that?
I'm
not
looking at her right now.
Because every time you're like, this is a hokey pokey.
It is hokey pokey. But you know what? I have said from the beginning, it'll take 3 months for us to get our groove back with Ari. It's been, at Christmas, it was right at 100 days. Mm-hmm. And people that saw her in the beginning and see it now, yeah. We've gelled. We have gelled.
We found our groove.
But our family has gelled, I should say. And I think that counseling for the 2 little ones, for my wife and I, mm-hmm. Seeking counsel with other people has been a huge help.
Yeah. For some of you that are new to Jason and I, are new to my blog or podcast, we actually started trying to adopt. Is it 8 years ago or 9 years ago, honey? I think it's 8 years ago. We started the adoption process. I have known, I would say, since the time we got married, I told you I wanted to adopt.
Yeah, we had that
before we even had our first biological kiddo. Adoption is very near and dear to my heart. And I've always felt like we would. So 8 years ago, we decided to try to adopt, and we wanted to adopt domestically. So we signed up with an agency here in Kansas City, and we waited for 2 years for a newborn. And during that time, we had, lots of close calls, people looking at our profiles. We even had a time when we almost were scammed. Remember that lady that wanted, yeah.
We just weren't a good fit for a lot of people because we already had 3 biological
children.
And people that more than likely, the times we didn't want to foster either. So that was a kind of a thing we didn't want to do either.
We wanted to be a permanent family for someone.
We want to be a permanent family. And reunification is what happens in these situations. So anyways.
Reunification with foster kids.
With foster kids, yeah.
So we waited for 2 years for a newborn. And then we decided, gosh, Ava was getting older and the age gap was going to be getting wider. So we thought, well, let's switch. And try to adopt a child as long as they're younger than Ava out of the foster care system. So we waited. We went through all the classes, did all the things, gave up 8 or 9 of our Saturdays, remember that, and sat through all those. I mean, it's hard waiting, you guys. When you are trying to adopt, because every year you have to it's like continuing education. You have to get re-fingerprinted and have the people out to your house. What are they called? The people that check your closets and your fire extinguishers and make sure your dog has its immunizations and that you're not freaks of nature. And so we did all those things. And at the 4th year, I was tapping out.
I don't know how we ever got past that freaks of nature thing.
That freaks of nature thing. It about tripped us up. But I was done waiting. And my heart couldn't handle much more. And so at 4 years ago, I said, I think I'm done. I don't want to renew. And so we gave up 4 years ago. Unbeknownst to us, Ari
was born
4 years ago. At the time we were deciding we're done being on a waiting list, Ari had just come into this world. And I think what I've learned most from bringing Ari in is a couple of things. Number one, I don't know if I've heard this somewhere, if I just came up with it, but this is the right thing for us to do. And I do believe that it's absolutely God's will. But what I know to be true is holy work is hard work. This is hard. It's hard.
Or hard work is holy work.
There you go. Either way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that I underestimated the ramifications it would have for each of us in this family. But mostly, Ava just being the only girl and things. And yet it's still the right thing to do. And we're still 100% committed to it. So it's interesting. During the last 3 months, I have gone through periods of intense grieving for how our family used to look, grieving for us going back to a 4-year-old and I think I'm actually going to do an entire podcast on this. So make sure you subscribe. I had prided myself for so long in staying home for that decade with the kids. And then now we have a kiddo back in preschool. And so we've kind of had to navigate a lot of big emotions from me. And so, but she's precious. And people keep saying, man, how you've changed her life. And every time I try to say back to them, no, she has absolutely changed ours.
Oh, what a blessing you are.
Yeah. And I'm like, nope, she's a blessing to us. So what have you learned most about getting kiddo number 4 in the house?
What have I learned about it?
Yeah. What was my question to you? What could we have done better?
What we could have done better was I would just say that I've learned that I need more patience. I've learned that you can't parent all 4 kids the same.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I would think with the boys, I can parent the boys different. Ava, we've reverted back a little bit. Just because it's a little more tender now. The parenting style is different. And with Ari, it's different also. My young Ava is turning into a young lady and she wants to be treated like a young lady and not like a little kid. So I've had to learn all that stuff. Most of the time through evil looks and snarky looks from my wife sometimes.
It's so not true.
It's just we help each other out. We do.
So Ari in.
So what I've learned, I don't necessarily you can put into words. It's a lot.
We're still learning.
Yeah,
I think is why we both feel a little tongue tied. That was the big things that happened in our year. We brought Ari in September. In October, my best friend was diagnosed with liver cancer. You and I were scheduled to spend our anniversary in Maine for our 21st wedding anniversary, and we ended up canceling that. She had surgery on the day of our trip and to remove a liver tumor, which thank God they removed it and got all the cancer. But that was an incredibly trying time.
Only because we've done life with these people for the last 20 years.
Well, yeah. And I mean,
and
no one close, I've never had anybody close to me have cancer. And so it has, what I would say about 2018, and I was really thinking about this, is other than Laura getting cancer, literally 2018, we got so many things that we've prayed for. We got you home, we got a bigger house, we got a child in our home that we get to care for. And
we had some huge blessings.
We've had some huge blessings. And yet this year has taught me more about myself and areas that I still really need to work on. Parts of myself that I'm quite frankly not so proud of, Oh,
I've got a lot of those.
And so it's also made me so insanely grateful for the business that we have, because it's allowed us, the resources to take care of Ari, the time to take care of her. We've been able to be off work, to be with Laura during surgery.
But even before we had Ari, I got to experience more things. Leaving corporate America than I had before. So, I got to go to kids'
field trips,
last day of school, field trips I'd never been a part of, that my wife had taken the lead on that stuff, and I get to do it. Going to have lunch with your kids. And I can't go with the high schoolers at this point in time, but to walk in to a fourth grader or fifth grader's, school with a bag of McDonald's is just. It's pretty awesome. It's awesome.
I have been so proud of you too. You have showed up for 2018.
Because I was gone since when we get married.
The thing is, and I think let's commit to doing another podcast about this topic, because I think people don't know what to do with us and you being here with me at this point. And I have, since you have been able to leave that job and work with me here at home, there are some other people that I've seen this going on in their relationships as well. And it's very different than what most married couples are used to seeing.
It is.
And we do get a lot of questions about it, and about, people ask silly questions about, like, do you get on each other's nerves? And so will you commit to doing another podcast with me just talking about that?
I can.
Okay.
I can.
Awesome.
Are you going to get on my nerves?
Am I going to get on your nerves? Yeah. It's probably most guaranteed.
Will you get on my nerves?
Probably. So that is our year in review for 2018, my friends. And I don't know if that was
a good.
Yeah. Basically we just kind of had like verbal diarrhea there and just dumped out everything that's transpired. But we get a lot of questions about some of those major things that happened this year. And I think it's easy for everything to look really rosy on the outside, but it has really been a year of change and deep transition for us. And it's funny because the word of the year that God gave me for 2018 was reposition. And if you have not ever asked the Lord to give you a word of the year, I really encourage you to do that. So my word of the year for 2018, when I asked God, hey, what's my word of the year going to be, in December?
And he usually emails that to you.
Yeah, I get it at Allwood. Well, no, I'm kidding. And so, but I felt instantly in my heart the word reposition. And we have completely been repositioned in 2018. And so, in 2019, we're going to figure out how to balance that all and what all of that is going to look like. And so,
what's your word for 2019?
I'm not ready to tell them yet.
It's not reposition.
No, it's not. We've been repositioned now. We're done with that. Actually, my word for 2019 is simplify. And we've been repositioned. And now I think God's going to kind of chip away at the excess that's not needed.
We're going to have a KISS 19.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
So, friends, thank you for being here. Gosh, we appreciate you listening. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast if you don't already, because that way you get this little ding notification on your phone every time a new podcast episode comes out once a week. And if you have not taken a time to go over to iTunes and leave us a review, would you do that? Because the reviews really matter. Number one, I read them and it blesses my heart. Number two, this is how podcast sponsors decide if they would like to advertise on our podcast. They look at the reviews. And so it all really matters in terms of rankings with iTunes and all the techie things that I don't understand. So if you could leave us a review, let us know. And if you DM me on Instagram and show me your review, girlfriend, I will do a little video back to you. And Jason can tell you, because I do this late in bed at night, don't I?
Late in bed at night.
Well, 10 o'clock.
For you, it's like 8:30.
I know. So, friends, thank you for being here. We're excited for 2019. We're excited that you're on this ride with us.
Can't you also ask Alexa to play your podcast for you?
You are brilliant. Oh my gosh. Yes. So my friend Carrie Robina from the She Walks in Truth podcast, which is excellent. If you have not listened to it, if you're a person of faith, make sure you listen to that. Carrie is the one that's going to be heading up the entire prayer team at my Equipped conference in Kansas City in May. She will be praying with a lot of you that are coming to the conference and need prayers for your business. So Carrie's amazing. Carrie, a while back, let me know, girlfriend, you can say to Alexa, hey, Alexa, play the Jennifer Allwood podcast show. You have to say it in that order. The Jennifer Allwood podcast show. And it will start the latest episode for you. What kind of a wild, wild world do we live in?
I was thinking about doing that same thing. I had this idea one time where I could just yell stuff out and it would happen.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I never said, hey, Alexa. You guys say, hey, Alexa. Or Alexa, turn on the Jennifer Allwood show. I always say, hey, Jennifer, make me a sandwich. And it would, like a sandwich would appear, but it never happened.
No, that's never going to happen, baby. But you can say, hey, Alexa, play the Jennifer Allwood podcast show, and it will start. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, try.
All right, guys. Bless you. We'll be back again next week. And yeah, I can't wait to talk to you then. Until next time, stay creative. Bye-bye. This is podcast episode 100.
I made the 100th episode?
You did make the 100th episode.
Yeah.
All right, you ready, Allwood?
I was born ready.
All right.
I was born son of wife and brother of now. Man with my runs my pow.
Are you going to rap?
It's Nick Daniels.
Not McDonald's. Okay. All right.
The rhymes are Daryl's and the burgers are
Ronald's. If we fail as podcasters, we can always be rappers.